incident 2,000 years ago that has probably best been recorded by a writer, an American writer named Taylor Caldwell. She wrote from her own personal memory an incident that occurred, and her memory told her that she was the mother of a girl who was a Jewish girl and who had in a sense served the government of Israel by prostituting herself to Roman soldiers to get their information and their secrets. And even though she was trying to give herself in service by doing that, there was something about it that she had been convinced was honorable. At the same time, she felt very dirty and very guilty. And the very people who commissioned her to do what she was doing also publicly disapproved of her, discriminated against her, and were very unkind to her. They justified themselves by saying, "We cannot condone what you're doing under any circumstance, but if you have real loyalty to Israel, if you really love Israel, you will not only give your body to this kind of service, but you'll also endure our insults. Because for our own reputation, we must insult you if you do this work." It's a heavy, heavy load for a person to take, and it's not the only time that it's happened in history. In this particular case, the burden of that guilt and social ostracism became too great for her to bear. And particularly as a girl in that culture grows into womanhood, and the very great prize of youthful beauty begins to fade, then the abandonment becomes even more difficult than it was earlier. The ability to serve, if what she was doing could be considered service, is threatened. The livelihood is lost, and everything is lost. Love of family, pride in self, self-support, self-love, forgiveness. And this woman was really torn by guilt, particularly when she was caught in a situation of adultery. And according to Jewish law, she was set up in a public square to be stoned. And when this took place, it happened that the Master, Jesus, came upon that public square. If you believe in accidents, that was happenstance. If you believe in a cosmic plan for the ages, this was the Palestinian mystery play. Playing those roles in the mystery play, there was a mother who stood watching her daughter accused of adultery, and self-righteous men holding stones ready to throw them. And she would have stood there witnessing her daughter battered, bleeding to death. And not just losing her daughter to death, but losing her daughter to the ultimate social ostracism. Reputation, everything gone. And it would be an interesting question if we could decide whose pain was greater, the mother or the daughter. They both encountered this situation with pain, and into the situation came Jesus, who came between her and the stones, which it is not clear from the Bible, but is very clear in Taylor Caldwell's memory. The stones were already flying when Jesus stepped in front of her and took a stone himself on his own body. Edgar Casey also remembers the incident that way. He speaks of a stone that flew and hit Jesus in the face. And with the blood dripping, he didn't even speak. He just knelt down with this terrified girl behind him, shielded by shielded by his body. And with his finger he wrote in the sand, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." And the statement was strong enough that even the most self-righteous among them dropped their stones and walked away. Not necessarily because they suddenly found that that was all right, but because their stones wouldn't have hit their mark anyway with Jesus' body in the way. They could only have stoned him and not her, because he'd put himself in that situation. The same girl encountered him again, her reputation gone now because this accusation had become public. Her life as a woman of Israel in that time was gone, right down the gutter. And obviously she had a great love and appreciation for the man who had shielded her. But it went even further than that, because when she had an opportunity at a later time, she took the earnings that she had saved and bought some very, very expensive ointment. And when I say very expensive ointment, it's very difficult to tell you in our experience how expensive that is. But we're talking about something that is more priceless than gold. The ointment that she used is not what we would think of as an expensive cologne. You know how expensive the most expensive perfumes can be. That's nothing compared with the expense of the little bottle of ointment that she purchased. The equivalent would be about enough money to purchase a good house in that time. She spent that much money for a little bottle of ointment, found an opportunity when Jesus was sitting with his disciples, and came and knelt at his feet, washed his feet, and then began to pour this very expensive oil onto his feet and massage them with love. And she actually dried his feet with her hair. And the story says that Judas, being the treasurer of the group, objected strenuously to several things about the incident. One was just that Jesus would allow such a precious ointment to be wasted on his feet when it could have been sold for enough to feed a hungry family for several days, literally. So he raised that objection, but he also raised the objection to his being seen in the company of this woman, her reputation now established very publicly. And Jesus' response to the objection, the reprimand, was to make her an example to the apostles. We surely must think of the apostles as being the people who best recognized the Christ. These are the people who would later make his name known to the world. And yet Jesus said to them in that instance, "She understands me better than you do, any of you." And he challenged the apostles to learn a lesson from this lady. From her giving up something that she could have wanted very much. And that something, as I see it, was the dream, even the notion, the possibility of becoming the lover of Jesus. I mean, there was in her that inclination, but she also knew, my inclinations are mine. I'm not a victim of what I'm attracted to. And also, she felt, I'm totally unworthy of his love. I couldn't be his lover. The best that I can ever hope to be is to be his servant. Even that, he might not accept me as someone worthy to mop the floors of his home. But whether he accepts me or rejects me, I can only approach him on my knees as a servant, with this act of absolutely ultimate honor, honoring him as highly as she had the capacity to do. The ointment that she used was a holy ointment, and by the Bible itself, it is forbidden to be used for anything other than a sacred purpose and by a priest. So she was breaking a law, a temporal law, a man-made law, but also a scriptural law. The Bible itself says, it gives the formula for this oil in the Old Testament. And where the Bible gives that formula, it says the soul of one who uses this sacred oil improperly, that soul is doomed. So there was that kind of curse, blessing, holiness placed on this oil. And it was to be used only in the anointment of a priest or a king. And this woman took it upon herself to spend a life savings for king's ointment. But she was not presumptuous enough to be the one who would stand and put it on his head. She recognized him as a king, but she recognized herself as worthy only to touch his feet, even with the most holy of oils. She was willing to put her life on the line again because she could have been killed for using this ointment without authorization of the high priest. But she used it. And there are two things in her heart. One is that she knew that it was all right with God for her to use that ointment. And that should tell you a lot about this woman. She knew that it was all right with God for her to put herself in the position of a high priest of Israel. She was that presumptuous to use that sacred oil. And at the same time, the other part of her says, I can only do this on my knees. And that and one other incident in the Bible are probably the two most famous incidents of foot washing in all of history. The other incident was when Jesus himself knelt before the apostles, which again was absolutely unheard of. If you can understand the structure of Jesus' society, of the society of that day, and know that Jesus was a rabbi. The word rabbi means father, spiritual father. He was a rabbi. For a spiritual father to get on his knees to wash someone else's feet was to, in the eyes of the priesthood, was to insult the priesthood itself. It was to degrade the position of a guru, a spiritual teacher, a rabbi, or a priest. But he came to a point in his ministry when he said to his apostles, up to this moment in your relationship with me, you have called me master, and I have called you servant. And he said, that's appropriate. For I have been to you a master and a teacher, and you have been to me students and servants. But I'd like to reveal to you a truth that is a mystery. And the mystery is that the servant is the greatest master of all. And so saying, he became the servant to them, got on his knees and began to wash feet. Peter realized the implication of that act. And Peter said, no, that just will never happen. He said to Jesus, I love you too much. I honor you too much. You're in such a high position in my life, I cannot allow you to wash my feet. I mean, this just isn't something that is done. I wash your feet. And I'm not willing to move from this position of being your servant to being called friend, as if I were equal to you. I just recognize too well I'm not your equal. I can't do what you do. I can't pretend that I can do for the world what you can do. I won't let you go as master. I want you to remain my master. I want to remain your servant. That's proper. That's right. That's the way it should be. And Jesus said to him, if you never graduate this school, then you'll never take the responsibilities of the school. And for anyone to knowingly assume the responsibility of being a teacher or a master, he must either be an egotistical fool, or he must know that he has no other choice but to fulfill that responsibility. People who seek to be in elevated positions as teachers and cannot accept the responsibility of that position are very foolish people. To even wish that you could be honored as people think that teachers are honored without knowing the baggage that goes with the job and being prepared to accept it. The person wouldn't last long anyway in the position. And to even want the position means that one does not understand the responsibility. But you can begin with where this woman was, and I suggest that you do. Knowing and even being able to say, I'm absolutely sure that I have more faults than you. I would like to give you a costly treasure. I suspect that most of you in this group treasure your relationship with the rest of us in this group. And if you do treasure that relationship, you may be very, very afraid to say anything that is going to strain that relationship. You may be afraid that if you say straight, directly and honestly, what you know that that person needs to hear more than anything else in the world, if you have the depth of love and commitment that is willing to take the chance that that person will never speak to you again, may hate you for the rest of your life, then maybe you're ready to make the gift of a treasure as great as Mary Magdalene made when she poured precious ointment on the Master's feet. She was the only female apostle. And yet it would appear that Jesus, even though there was an apostle, the youngest one, John, there was an apostle who was called the one that Jesus loves. But if you look at one last act that Jesus did, you might question whether his love for John was greater than his love for Mary Magdalene. And I mention that because when Jesus was resurrected, the first person that he chose to reveal that to was Mary Magdalene. Not John, not Peter, not James, but Mary Magdalene. If there's any woman that he honored more than his mother, it was Mary Magdalene. And the two great women saints of Christianity are a whore and a virgin. Which one contributed the most? I'm sure it's an unanswerable question. But in fact, they both did the same thing for us. Each of them gave us the Christ. One through giving birth to his body, the other for anointing him king of Israel, king of the world. And she had the foresight, she had the prophetic foresight to know that he who was called by Isaiah the suffering servant would also, by the law of karma, return the crowned king. The suffering servant becomes the crowned king. But if you try to master the law and the prophets, the wisdom, before you master being a servant, you will have wished upon yourself an impossible task. If you can't master service, mastery of anything else is meaningless. And the Master said it this way: let him who would be the greatest of all, let him be the servant to all. And perhaps the most interesting question raised by Jesus' life is, even while the apostles were calling him master, and he was calling them servant, The ultimate question is, who was serving whom? Were they serving him? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In any comparison to the manner in which he was serving them. He had no need of them. He was perfectly capable of handling all his needs by himself. Some of you may have learned in the last few weeks that having a servant can be an interesting burden. It's a lot harder to let someone else ruin your clothes than to wash them yourself. So if you ever wished for a servant, that's probably why you got here. If you ever wished to be a servant, you've been provided the opportunity. The question is, have you become a servant? One does not become a servant by doing. Being a servant is a state of being. And the state of being that is a master servant is the state of being of knowing that you are so all right, so loved, as a result of your own responsibility for self and all rightness, being so supported by your own realization of your worth, telling yourself the truth about that. That having established that, you can allow yourself to be abused, misused, overloaded, overused.
Without ejaculation, and ejaculation could occur without orgasm.
And even perhaps you could go as far as the Apostle Paul said that he went. In his letter to the Romans, the Apostle Paul opened the letter by saying, I am Paul, called an apostle, but a willing bondslave of Jesus Christ. If you read that in English, it says servant, but that is not what Paul wrote. In the Greek, it says a willing bondslave. And beside that word, in order to understand the depth of meaning, you have to understand the Greek tradition of bondslaves in that time. A bondslave was a man who owned nothing, absolutely nothing. If he had a child, that child was the property of his master. If he wrote a poem, the signature on the poem was that of his master. If he created a piece of art, it was signed with his master's name. His mind was not even his own. His thoughts were not his own. His creativity was not his own. Nothing was his. Paul said, I've chosen to be a bondslave to the Christ, to the extent that I no longer exist. Nothing about me, nothing that is mine, neither my body, name, identity, nothing belongs to me. It all now belongs to him. And his metaphor for that was the metaphor of the law regarding bondslaves at the time. I'm a willing bondslave. I don't own anything, not even my own blood. It belongs to the Christ. Paul was a man who was not afraid to serve people in meaningful ways. He's not your typical kind person that washes people's feet and feeds the widows. That wasn't Paul. That's not what he was like. He served in another way. There was a young man who accompanied Paul and Silas on a missionary journey and couldn't stand the pressure of the journey and went home to Mama. And having done so, he realized that he had lost his manhood, his honor, his integrity, his own sense of self-worth. And somehow he was able to pick himself up and come back and say, all right, I'm ready to do it. The Apostle Paul said, no way. You had your chance. That's it. If you want to serve, you'll have to create your own way to serve. And Silas, on the other hand, was a very kind man. But here again is an interesting mystery. Was he more kind than the Apostle Paul? I'd like to borrow a word from Richard Prosher and say to you that Silas was an enabler. Do you know what that means? He enabled this young man, John Mark, to escape responsibility by splitting off from Paul and saying, okay, you get to go with me as a servant. Even if you haven't earned it, I'll give you this opportunity. It may be that Silas, the indulgent, doting father, kept John Mark from ever being a master in that lifetime. And he did it, of course, in the name of love. Love for whom? Silas, being recorded as this nice man in history, has been known for 2,000 years as the forgiving, loving man who took John Mark. Maybe that's what Silas wanted. Maybe he loved, maybe he needed love and appreciation so much that he was willing to destroy a young man's future in order to look good. Is anything hitting home for anybody? I've said all of this to ask you, have you got the guts to actually serve one another? If serving one another means that the person that you're serving, honestly, truthfully, directly, knowing that you're coming from love in your heart, but also knowing that person may despise you for the rest of your life for your having been as straight and honest as you were with them. The question becomes then, do you love yourself too much? Are you so needy of love that you can't give what you know needs to be given because you can't stand the rejection if they don't hear what you're saying? I think this is the ultimate love challenge. The third dyad of love, called challenge service, is the most challenging third of love. It's 1/3 of what love is. And if that's not there, that third dyad, then love isn't love. It's phony. It may be mushy, it may be sentimental, it may be sweet, it may be self-righteous, but it isn't love. Unconditional love means putting your neck on the line, including taking the chance that you will lose the love of the person that you are serving. I have no particular investment in making this difficult for you. What I would like to do is to enable you to to experience the depth of love that can be experienced. And I would like you to know that when you bend down to wash the Master's feet, that's the only pair of feet that you will have a chance to wash tonight, the feet of the Master. When you bend down to wash his feet, you know already that whatever is the tiny blemish in that person's eye is nothing compared to the big, ugly, pussy pimple in your own eye. Is that graphic enough?
Yes.
If we really know ourselves to be less worthy, more guilty, not that we're going to buy into guilt and feel guilt. I'm not asking that you feel guilt or make yourself guilty. I'm asking that you realize that nobody in this room has worse habits than you do. But there is a great gift that could be given, and I'm going to ask Carrie to read some lines of a poem, part of which comes from Robert Burns, and see if you can hear the message in it.
Wait for the mic.
You'll need the mic, Carrie, and you'll want to stand up here.
Hello.
Straight and tall with a lot of poise and beauty and projection and confidence, grace, all those things.
Oh, the greatness of the gift he would give us, to see ourselves as others see us. Oh, the greatness of kindness would be shown if those who love us will make our flaws known. Oh, the possibility to have to fly if those who me cherish would lift my anchor high. If there one whose love would make me bolder by pushing the weights from off my shoulder. Release me from my chains, unseen, empower me to know what truest love does mean.
Just to clarify the rules of this encounter, if you really want to know something that someone else has seen in you that they believe could be changed in you to make you more beautiful, if you want to know what that is, then you must ask. And sitting in the throne seat is not enough. Sitting in the throne seat is asking, but we're going to ask you to also ask in words. When a person comes forward to wash your feet, you must ask them if they have a gift for you. And when they deliver their gift to you, you must accept it with genuine appreciation. If you're not sure that you can do this at this moment, don't take the throne chair yet. Take it only when you're ready. Nobody's going to force you. And when a person does give your gift, if you understand what they're saying, if the picture is clear, if you know what they mean, then you must thank them for the gift. Offer no explanation, no excuse, no reason, no defense. If you do not understand what they mean, you are allowed to ask them, please make that clearer. What action specifically did I do that gives you this picture? Where does your gift come from? What is the source of your gift? Let me understand it better. You can ask to understand it better. But you cannot engage in a conversation that in any way, even slightly, with your eyes, with your face, with your body language, or anything else, do not engage in anything that attempts to explain that the person didn't see what they thought they saw. Don't offer any excuses, no explanations, no reasons, no defenses, no denials. And if you're not sure that you can do that, and if you're not ready to take the throne yet, it's quite all right. We're all developing patience. I would ask those of you who do give your gift to give it with as much love as you can. And giving it with love does not mean that you're not permitted to call a bitch a bitch. I don't mind if you use foul language. I want you to be clear. And when I say a loving communication, I do not mean couching it in sweet words. That may not be loving. If you try to deliver it so tactfully that it loses any meaning, any force, any impact, has no power for that person to grab hold of and go with, that's not what I call a loving communication. Give it straight. Whether it's loving or not is a matter for your heart to decide. And we are not going to accuse you of not being loving. Now, what I do reserve the right to do as a teacher in this school is, although the person sitting in the seat is not allowed to say anything except thank you for the gift, I am allowed to say anything I want to you, in their behalf or in service to you. So if you can remember all those rules, and you got the guts to check them out, then we're ready for volunteers.
I'm getting that seat.
You want to get in the seat?
Get it over with.
Get it over with.
Do you want to volunteer?
Get it over with. Okay? Yes? You want to volunteer for the seat as well? 3, 4. Okay, take the names in the order that they came up, please. Let's see, it went from Les to Eleanor to Jetty is what I saw, and Peter, and then was it you, Jackie? Okay, and Grace, and I think the next one was Carrie. So list them and take any order after that of anyone who also has their hands up. Is there anyone who does not want to go tonight, would prefer to go Saturday night or after the others get back? You'll just as soon go when your turn comes up. Okay.
You just say that masters only go tonight, only masters go tonight.
No. We're all masters tonight, and we're all servants tonight. So on this night, you can be very irreverent to your master if you think that will serve him. Whenever you're ready. Are we set?
Set.
Okay. Whenever you would like.
I didn't know you were standing up. I didn't really want to do it. Oh, take your tail off. Why not? I find it as very quick.
Would you like it first?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I can actually see how much it
Déjà, même pendant la période de prospérité qui a précédé, les familles moyennes perdent de leur pouvoir d'achat, même si les demandes de travail sont de plus en plus nombreuses à faire. Sur la pauvreté, d'après les chiffres de la on doit travailler jusqu'à 80 heures par semaine pour gagner 50 000 $.
Yes, I think we should record it. Also, if someone who would like to serve by taking notes, you may do that. Do you want to attach that to him? Gentle with that foot.
These your towels, are they? Yeah. I'm thinking this one's bad as well. It's not, is it? Okay. What I want to share with you, Paul, is that I get a sense sometimes that trying to find the words the right way. It hurts me sometimes to see you outside of the group. A sense of loneliness in there. And as much as I know you need to play the role that you play, and you do that well, sometimes I want to say to you, come on, get more in with the family. Sometimes I feel a big separation there.
Thank you.
I didn't sandwich that. The thing that I admire about you most is your ability to just keep following that vision and not letting anything get in the way. Even if the whole fellowship gives up on you, if everybody gives up on you, you'll still be there out on your own doing it. And I think that's fantastic. I really do admire your loyalty to the Christ and to the Mother Earth. That really touches me deep, because I've never seen that in anybody before.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
And I want to thank you for your ability to be honest. Really honest. Making people face themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Appreciate it. Now that I've had my feet washed, you don't have to take the time for the whole ritual. In the interest of serving everybody else, say what you want to share and say it quickly. And you can take a bit of water and put it on the foot, if you like. Make it a part of the ritual. Ruben?
Yes, I wanted to make it part of the ritual. Paul, I want to thank you for your love, your passion that you show. And for the deepness when I look in your eyes, the deepness I feel, the love I feel. I'm really grateful for what is in those eyes.
Thank you.
And what I want to share is that you have a vision of the fellowship. And there are many more people who share that vision with you. And I want to ask you to allow more people in your life sharing and building that vision. That you welcome those people and take part of what I feel of a burden for carrying the fellowship and load it on people who want to take it, because I know they're there.
Okay, I need to understand better what you mean. How would I take in more people and share the burden with them? How do you see that I could do that? Do you mean to trust people more?
I think that is part of it, yes. To trust that even when they wouldn't go it exactly the way you wanted, that they still have so much love and compassion for the fellowship in the heart that even when we take it slightly off the road, it will go where Christ wants it to go.
Okay. Any more other than trusting more? Are there other ways that I can share the load that you see? Specific steps that I could take?
To be very specific, I don't know how we would do that in a board election, because that's a quite difficult and open procedure. But make it a point that people, before they come on the board, question their heart if they really sincerely want to make a commitment to the fellowship, and then make that commitment and go for it.
Is that something you feel I can do or should do?
I think we should do it all together. But I think you have a leading role in that. I feel that people still look upon you and expect the answer to come from you. Well, they need to find the answer within as well.
Then you feel that when a person comes on the board or on the staff, I should ask them for a complete commitment, or ask them the depth of their commitment? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that's appropriate, yes. And then unload the burden on the board. I think that's where your part comes in. Really unload it on the board and say, okay guys, this is it. Because I feel that you still have too much on your shoulders.
Okay, I believe I hear you coming back to trust again. That's the heart of it. Is that?
I don't know if it's trust. I see you take it all on you. And whether it's trust, I don't think that's the issue. I see you take it on you. And I believe it burns you. It burns you out. And I'd like to see you rested like we all like to be rested.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I love you very much.
Thank you, Ruben. Can we take just another couple of people quickly? And I don't want to dominate the evening, so.
I missed my chance here.
Go for it with gusto.
What I want to say to you is, what I believe is the highest compliment I can pay anybody is that when I see you, I see the Christ. And it happens over and over and over, just like a few minutes ago, just like in that Sunday service. And the meat is that I wish that when people come to you and tell you things that I'm saying or I'm doing that sound unsupportive of you or unsupportive of the fellowship, I wish that you would give me the benefit of the doubt and remember that I love you and I love this fellowship, and at least question what they're saying rather than taking it to be the absolute truth. And then the bread is that I want to thank you for, I think in the last couple months, or in the last month when Tom was slipping away, and I think there was a danger that I would get caught in his wake, and that you tried to hold on to him, and you definitely held on to me and didn't let me slip through your fingers. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you, and I do agree to your request.
It's very hard to say what I want to say. I want you to know that your energy, your love reaches across the world long before people meet you. There's so much commitment in it, so much burden. It's like you have the whole world on your shoulders. I'd love to see you play more. When you came into my mind at times when I wasn't even thinking of you, it was words that said, Paul needs to play. I'd love to see you play more. And you can do the work just as well. What I want to say to you, to me, is that I find it very hard to accept when I hear you talk of intimacies of other people that they have entrusted to you because they feel that it's a very safe place to talk about their innermost feelings, that you would say them to other people. It concerns me. Looking at it probably from your strength and understanding that people's weakness is probably just an illusion from where I am. It causes me insecurity. To feel that anything I may say to you just to share that maybe intimate and that I may not be able to share with anyone else, that you would say these things to other people. It concerns me.
Okay, I think I understand that concern. Thank you for telling me. Thank you.
Sounds like to say that you're such an incredible being of love to me. I really look up to you so much. The thing that I'd like to say to you that concerns me is that I feel you need to love your body more. That sometimes I feel like you need to think about the things that you eat I know you need to take drugs, and sometimes you smoke cigarettes, and if you could just bless your body and bless those things when you do that. But sometimes I feel scared that I'm going to lose you just when I'm getting to know you. I love you so much.
Thank you. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate it.
I thank you so much for your support and patience and forgiveness.
This little piggy stayed home. There's a passage in the Course in Miracles that says the holiest spot on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. I think when I entered your energy field, it was kindled with the memory of an ancient hatred. And now I'm on holy ground. And I love you. And the past is no more. And I encounter you only in the present. In the present, I encounter your heart. And that is loving.
They're wanting to get your words.
I don't like to repeat myself.
Go on from where you are.
Okay. The gift that you have given me is acceptance. When I can accept myself, I accept everything that is outside of myself. And I've struggled with that through you. And in that you have been my teacher. And I wish to be of service, because that is all that I need to learn is acceptance. When I accept you as you are, I am learning to accept myself. There is no division between us. And I have come to learn to accept that you are love. And I seek to have the strength to be myself, to say what is in my mind, what is in my heart, to say it when it's needed to be said, to say it to you when it's needed to be said, and that I can have a relationship that is honest and committed, and I can disagree with you, and I can communicate the disagreement, and that in no way has anything to do with infringement on the love that I hold for you. And that will be mutual and understood. Do unto others only as you would have them do unto you at all times. wash your feet. That smells good.
Kiss your head. The last one. Okay. I feel like you're all being very kind and very supportive. And if there's more that you feel, be free to say it. Don't be afraid to love unconditionally, deeply.
This is a very self-conscious experience. I know I'm supposed to be thinking of you, and I find that it's very difficult in this situation to do that for, I guess, a number of reasons. I'm highly aware that as I sit here talking to you, you're there being very aware that I'm telling you about myself. You're very smart that way. And that makes me self-conscious when I talk to you, which is one of the difficulties in sharing with you, is that one of the blessings that you gave me by training me the way that you did was to try to see things through your eyes. And that's a very uncomfortable experience, to sit with you all the time and see me through your eyes. It's supposed to be enlightening, and sometimes it is very enlightening. And but it's not always comfortable. You empower me incredibly. You give me a great deal of power. You give me an incredible amount of importance in your life and in the fellowship's life, and it scares the shit out of me. Not because you give it to me. Personally, I would prefer not to have that power be because you give it to me. And I like to believe that I feel that now, and yet I'm always watching me through your eyes, so I'm always questioning and looking at whether I am claiming that for myself or whether I'm bullshitting me. I'm not always sure whether that struggle in me is a result of my relationship with you and the way that, the whole routine about the way that I learned from you and the whole history and all that stuff, or whether it's still my own fear of claiming that power. So I realize that that's a great blessing that you've given to me, is to empower me that way. And it's a curse, and I don't mean to blame you for my struggles with that. Sometimes I think you feel that way, that I get angry at you for what I'm experiencing as my struggle or my experience or whatever the hell it is of taking responsibility and either screwing it up or doing it whatever way I do it. I would like you to feel comfortable doing what you do because you believe that you want to do it, and not being careful of whether I agree or disagree or whatever I think. And I'm not sure, but I think you do a lot wonder whether what you say, or what you're going to say or what you're going to do, how I will take it, and not wanting to step on my toes. And I'm very aware of how my attempt to always be a nice guy communicates my fear of not wanting to be stepped on. I have a harder time with you being careful with me than I do with you being straight with me. I have a harder time with you being what I consider to be hurt by me than with you just telling me what you're thinking and going ahead and doing what you believe in, even if I wouldn't agree with it. it's that confidence in that you have that I believe in. Not just your sensitivity to trying to protect me from me being hurt because you disagree or any of that. You know, people get into power struggle bullshit. I'm not interested in whether people think we have a power struggle or not, and I don't want to have that. I think that's all a game to keep from really getting down. I go around with that. I want you to feel comfortable saying what you want and what you would want me to do. And as I was saying, I'm very aware that I'm talking to myself, and you're looking at me and I'm hearing myself say this to me. To me, say to you what I want to, not because it's whether you're going to agree or any of that, but because it's what I believe. And to take the hurt out of it. This is one thing that I haven't learned to come to terms with. I'm aware that I haven't come to terms with it in our relationship, and that is pain. I don't like pain. I do my damnedest to avoid pain, and I think I'm pretty good at avoiding it. I still like to believe for myself that that's because pain's not a good thing and you shouldn't get rid of it. It's better to live without it. I'm still trying to figure out whether you're trying to teach me that there's something about pain that we need to accept and swallow and digest. I don't like to think that I have to digest the kind of pain that you have digested and do to my stomach what has happened to your stomach. That's what I believe at the moment. And yet, through this old routine of always looking at me through your eyes, I'm always wondering. And so I come across with doubt sometime about whether I should hold back from pain or just dive in there and feel it with you. My doubt has nothing to do with what you're feeling. It has to do with whether I can handle it. I assume that you know that. And sometimes I get caught up in the role of, is this particular meeting that we're having for the purpose of me being supportive of you or for you being supportive of me? I'm not always sure. And we need to find a way to make that clear almost from moment to moment, or at least from meeting to meeting.
Is that important?
Is it important?
Whether it is from me being supportive of you or you being supportive of me, does that really matter?
Good point. It's a good point. I'll have to think about that. I'd like to say yes, but you have a good point.
I'm not sure we would do it differently if we established this one is for me, this one is for you.
Well, there are times when I sit down with you and you want to share with me the things that piss you off. And not just piss you off, but more the things that hurt you, where you really feel hurt. And I try to be aware, I've got to remember to listen and not just give feedback. And I don't want to step in and give feedback when what you really need to do is just be heard. And yet, sometimes that may be in the middle of a session where I think, well, wait a minute, one of my roles here has to do with like administration, and that has to do with getting things done. So we got to make a decision here. Now, is this decision-making time, or is this listening, being supportive time? That's what I mean. Again, I'm talking about confusion that I have about which role do I need to play at the moment. And I don't always know how to play the role of the counselor and the role of the administrator at the same time. And I'm not saying counselor in terms of giving feedback.
Can you believe that what you have to say is always important in either case? I mean, whether I'm unloading my pain, if that's what you perceive it to be, if that's what I'm doing, I think I need the same feedback then as I need when I'm trying to solve an issue or a question. And I also believe that I always want to know the way you see it, whether that means we're going to disagree or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd like you to speak out in any case. And I understand that you feel afraid that speaking out will result in more pain in me or a feeling of betrayal or whatever.
I guess sometimes I believe that if what you're wanting, and I'm not just saying you, I guess I believe this in general, if what a person is wanting in requesting in the moment is to be heard, then opening my mouth and giving feedback before it's the right time would cause you to feel unheard, especially if I'm saying something that you're not in the mood to hear at the moment.
Okay. Maybe maybe you can ask if I'm ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not, I may need help through that as well. I don't think that you need to feel empowered by me,
Mm-hmm.
although I'll do anything that I can do to empower you. But I don't think that keeps you from empowering yourself and owning your own power.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what I would ask from you is claim your own power and never mind whether I'm supporting that or not. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and be powerful. Don't assume that the power that you have is conveyed by me, because you and I both have
Mm-hmm.
discussed nobody can give you power.
Right.
We can empower and support one another, but you can't give a person authority. People have to claim authority and act on their responsibility. So I would hope that this wouldn't be a question.
But sometimes it's still a question for me, and again, not just with you. You're just the one that is the worst or the best role model, whichever way you look at it in the moment. Me drawing my own line of how much disagreement and emotional discomfort I'm willing to live with in any particular moment. And sometimes, coming down to a disagreement when we disagree on points or, importance or priorities or perceptions or whatever, and we have to come down to the point of making a decision, it can come to a battle of wills. And sometimes that can get to what seems to me to be uncomfortable. And there's a certain amount of discomfort like that I still just don't like. And I keep on hearing, and I'm getting this feedback. I know when I'm sitting here, I can think of at least 3 people who are going to give me this feedback, so I still don't like it because I know I need to hear it. Maybe I need to take more of that kind of power. Maybe I do, and I still don't like it. So at least you know that now. You know I still don't like it. I think I take a little more than I used to, but I still try to be as safe and slick with it as I can to try to minimize the discomfort of what I perceive to be a struggle of wills. Because I guess I keep on thinking that my purpose, that's the way that I hear it, my purpose is to do things in such a way that it always creates harmony, not brings up resistance. So I still struggle with that.
I would like to ask you to always assert yourself in the strongest possible terms. Because even if you feel that it will cause me pain, I still need to know. I need to see through another's eyes as you see through my eyes. I'd like you to trust me as much as I trust you.
Well, I know what I want. I want you to want to see through my eyes so that I don't have to use my will to get you to listen. That's what it is. I know I've thought that at times, but in trying to be careful about how I said things, I didn't quite come up with that. That's a belief that I have. Why do I have to go through all that to get you to listen? Why do I have to go through the point where, you know, we go through this and that and we be quiet through this uncomfortably long period of time, and then I get pissed off and I walk out or something like that, and then you ask me. Or then you stop trying to convince me of what you see. You know, just sometimes even that's what I don't understand, why we have to go through all that before you do what I consider to be stopping and listening to me.
Well, how about if I just listen to you up front?
I guess that's a good idea.
Oh, God.
See, I mean, I'm very aware how uncomfortable this is for me. Very aware of that. I mean, even when you say that, I think, all right, here we go. We're going to sit down, and you're going to sit back, and I'm going to have to do it. And I'll think, all right, well, now I want to hear what you had to say. So I'm aware that that's my discomfort. But in those moments when I shut up, it's because it seems to me from the way that you're communicating that you've got your mind more on what you believe, and hell, it might be right. I mean, it might even be better than what I'm thinking, and I'm very aware of that. But I don't see it. And, you know, one of us is going to have to stop and get both of those points of views. And I try to do that, but usually when I do it, I lose mine. So sometimes I'd like you to stop and set yours aside, because I know you'll have yours. I know you're not going to lose your point of view. We're real clear about that. And take up mine and try to see it from my perspective. Okay?
Yes, I hear you, and I really want to do that.
Thank you.
I would like you not to experience it as a power struggle, but as really wanting. I mean, I hear you and I'm listening, and this is something that I have wanted to know. So this gift is important to me, and I want to receive it. And
I want to hear what you're saying. I need
thank
to hear
you.
the other
That
side
gives
of it.
me
Thank you.
permission.
Go, spit it out.
Thank you. I'd like you to see me as always arguing my point of view as hard as I can and as effectively as I can, and you have the guts to do the same thing, please. Make me hear you.
Let me tell you, I have the guts to do the same thing.
Okay.
Why do I have to go through all that bullshit? I still question that. No, I'm willing to do it. But I still don't know why. It seemed, you know, I got this script in my head that says, you know, why do we add all this noise in the system when there's a problem that's already big enough?
Okay. I think the reason that we have to add all that in the system is to find out it's not painful for both of us to have our views and for both of us to argue them very vigorously. And it's not even painful if you win. You have a few times.
I know that. I heard that as a double message, too. A few times.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, very good. That's Thursday work.
Get all of that out.
Okay. We got to give somebody else a chance too. Let's do it quick.
You're a very powerful man. I have not found another man that matches the power that I am up against with you.
Up against.
I've met my match, and it's been a learning experience. I'm having a hard time in my family.
You've been totally supportive as a friend as well as an advisor. I do anything I possibly can. I do argue with you, and we've had quite a few confrontations. A lot of things I believe that you have listened to me, but I'm a little bit like Stephen. I'd like to clear the air and for all of us to be able to talk without the confrontations and the feelings. And I believe in what you said. It can be done. We just need to get rid of all this shit that's floating around, the gossip, and we can work. It will work out. We have goals. It's hard for me to, even the imagination that I have, it's hard for me to see your vision sometimes. But damn if I see some of them don't work out in the end. Some of them don't. But it's delivery. This is the gift I have for you. Delivery in which you handle it with people and the way you come across sometimes scares people. You've even scared me. And that's the only thing I got to give you, is that I am behind you and I do love you, Paul.
Okay, tell me how I scare you.
Well, sometimes I just feel like you don't hear me. Is that you have the way that you want it done, and there's nothing I can do to change that. And that takes the power away from me, in which I've given everything, my life, my family, everything to you. And I feel like sometimes you don't hear me. And that's the only thing. And I want to take care of you and your business. But I have to have that trust behind me to give me the confidence to do it. Right now I'm very down and I'm very weak, and I don't have much confidence in myself. Before I came here, I haven't cried in 15 years, except for one time with Tom Baker, but that was nothing that was emotional to me as this is. And thank you for being there and making me have the emotions of my heart come out. I needed it.
Thank you, and I make a commitment I will hear you. Who's next on the list?